y'all. What's up? First off, check out my new haircut. I'm cute. It's cute. I love it. Welcome. It is Get Yo Life. I'm so excited for you all to be here with me every Wednesday at 8 o'clock where we are tackling head on those topics, those roadblocks, those things that are getting in your way. And I'm teaching you all the tricks, all the skills, all the tools you need to keep going so that you can create that life that you've always wanted for yourself. My name is Dr. Parsons, and I am the founder and director of Authentically Me. I'm so glad that you all are here with me this week. If you haven't already, please make sure that you're following me, Authentically Me _Live Free on Instagram, Authentically Me Live Free on Facebook. If you are following me already, make sure you share with your friends. If you like what you see, if you find this information helpful, please make sure that you're sharing, spreading the word. I am here with a full heart, with love, and I'm here to share with you all so that you can join me in this space of peace that I have found in my life. So I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you for letting me be in this space with you. This week's topic, what we talking about this week? We are talking about how to overcome your weaknesses. So this is a big one. We are tackling head on that Achilles heel of yours, that thing that you're like, man, how can I get over this? How can I leave it behind, right? That thing that you feel like is just nagging at you, that's keeping you, holding you back. I'm going to teach you today what to do with those things, okay? Before I jump into that, I always like to give y'all a little bit of background. Those that are new to my videos and those who have been with me, you've heard this story, but it's always nice to just share a little bit about myself, about my background, about why I care so much about this work. You know, like I spent years living caged in. Living where on the outside, you know, people really, it looked like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. I supposedly had the accolades and was doing it the right way. But inside, right, that world that we don't really share with everybody, there was a lot of sadness. And not only sadness, but there was just this nagging feeling that I wasn't doing everything that I was supposed to be doing in this world, where I just knew I wasn't living up to my potential. Like I knew there was more of me to give, but I wasn't doing it. I wasn't living that life. And that feeling just was eating me up inside. Then 3.5 years ago now, my partner was killed in a car accident. And that life-shattering blow knocked my whole world from underneath me. And in some real devastating ways, in some like rock bottom ways, but then also in some real life-giving ways, right? Because in that healing process that I was thrown into, that I had no choice but to just, survive through, I also healed through all of the other kind of burdens that I had been carrying with me, all of those other roadblocks that had been getting in the way, all the other ways I had been telling myself that I wasn't good enough or that I couldn't do it, all those things that I was doing to hold myself back. And I was shedding those layers through the process of healing through grief. And that got me to this place where I am now, this place where I now can say proudly that I'm living in my purpose, that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing on this plane, and that I am giving all that I have in every moment that I can, right? And so along the way, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot how to go from this space of wanting to having. I've learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work, and I am here to teach you those things. I'm here to share with you those lessons because, I just said today, like, what good is knowledge if we ain't sharing it with other people so that we can all come up, so that we can all use those things to be better, to be greater. And that's part of what I'm here to do. That's part of my purpose is to create and organize these spaces for us all to live free. So I'm so glad that you all are here and partaking on this journey with me. Now, some of the things that have just, the doors that have opened, and the wildest part, right, is when you really go for it, when you really are like, okay, I'm going to step into, the path that's for me. It's actually broader than anything you could have imagined. So I've called things into my life where I'm like, man, I didn't know it was going to be this good. I would have done this a long time ago. Right now, I'm sitting right now in my high-rise apartment in downtown Manhattan where I work my dream job. I have this opportunity to not only be working and progressing in my career in that way, but then also launching this business and working with you all in the ways that call on my heart. I just had some real exciting meetings this afternoon with other projects that are just coming together, coming into fruition, and it is so exciting now for my external world to map onto my internal world, where with all of those things that I'm doing that I love, also comes peace. Also comes this fortitude to be able to rock through the lows and the highs of life, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie that means, okay, now I'm just happy 24/7, but I'm peaceful. And peace is one of those things that, until you have it consistently, you don't recognize its value. So that's part of this process too, right? How to call that peace into your life. Because when you have that distance between what you know that you can do and what you're doing, that's turmoil. That's stress inside, right? Where you're just always at odds with yourself, right? And so when you bring yourself into alignment, as in when your actions are in alignment with your calling, right? When the things that you are doing are a reflection of, your purpose here, there's peace with that. There's a calmity that, I just pray that everyone has a chance to feel. That's what I'll say. Okay, so let's jump in. I'm looking over here because I take notes, y'all. Y'all know I'll be preparing. So let me tell y'all what we talking about today. We are talking about overcoming those weaknesses. Overcoming those things where you're like, man, I just need to get past this and then I'll make it. Let me first start with, and this is why this is such an important topic, because somehow in our minds we convince ourselves that we're the only one with this shortcoming. Nobody else struggles with this. Nobody else has ever knows what this experience is like. I'm the only one out here that somehow can't get it together. So let me just bust that bubble to start with. We all have weaknesses. You want to know why? Because we're all human. None of us are perfect. None of us are, robots. We all have strengths and weaknesses. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Sometimes we have this programming and we get all these messages that you have to be excellent at everything. That's a falsity that's going to set you up for punishment unnecessarily, right? Because yes, you can bring excellence to those things that you are meant to be excellent at. And there are going to be those other things that you might just be skating by on. And even more, those other things that you really just aren't that good at. Right? And those things work in balance. They work in harmony with each other to make you your unique self. So you're going to have to embrace all of it. The full package of who you are. All right? So even just the idea that you're the only one, first of all, we're throwing that in the trash. Everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has things that they're like, I wish that, I could get rid of this. I wish I could change this. If I had a magic wand, I would erase this trait of mine. Okay? So think of those things for yourself. Think of those things like, okay, what are I'm not that great at, or, I wish I wasn't this way, especially if it's something that's holding you back. that's getting in the way of the dreams that you know, or the goals that you are setting for yourself, or the dream life that you have. Those are the ones that are most important. Those are the ones that I'm really talking about today. And those can be they can be traits. They can be habits, bad habits that you just do automatically now. But they can also be fears. They can be thoughts, those things that run through your mind about yourself. They can be mistakes that you've made in the past that you can't let go of, that you're still holding on to and continuing to punish yourself for, right? So those weaknesses can take a lot of different shapes and forms. And the big thing is, think about those things that you are ashamed of. Those things that make you feel embarrassed in some way. Because that's going to give you some insight of what people typically do with it. And then I'm going to teach you what you need to do instead, right? Because clearly that's not working, all right? So think about, what do you do with your shame? What do you do with those aspects of yourself that make you feel, or that when you think of them, when they come up, you feel shameful? We try to hide our shame. Most people, those things that you don't like about yourself, that you're embarrassed about, that you don't do well, that you consider your weaknesses, we try to hide them. Okay? And let me tell you why this is not the way to do it. Let me tell you why that actually works against you. Because when you hide something, right, and when you put a lot of energy and focus into hiding it, you're actually giving it strength, because you're validating that it's something worth hiding. You're telling yourself, okay, I'm hiding this. And then what the message you're giving is, this is something that I should hide. There's something that's wrong with me that I can't let other people see. That, is going to mess up my character in some way. It's going to mess up, who I really am. It's going to, reduce my worth in some way if somebody else knows. So let me continue then putting more energy and focus into hiding it. See how that's an ongoing cycle that then you get yourself trapped in? Because your behavior then reinforces that belief, and then you believe even stronger. Oh yeah, I really have to hide that. You go even more into overdrive of pulling back and hiding it, and then you continue believing that more and more. As if there's something wrong with you for having this weakness, for having this, place where you supposedly fall short. Okay? The other thing that people do, so you either hide it. The other thing that people do is you try to fight against it. You throw all your energy and attention into defeating this weakness. I'm going to beat this out of me. Okay? I'm going to just stamp it and punish myself. Whatever I have to do to get rid of this weakness, because it's something that I don't want for myself. Let me tell y'all something. What you focus on grows. And you might have heard that before, but I'm going to break down really what that means, okay? Because some people, they say that, but they don't really understand what that actually means. So I'm going to say it again. What you focus on grows. And what that means is, it doesn't necessarily mean that it actually grows in magnitude, okay? What it means is that its relevance in your life becomes bigger because of your perspective. Because you are focusing all your attention on it, it now relatively takes up more space in your life. If you're thinking about, I'm looking at, a big, thank you, girl. You missed my intro with the haircut. I had to flaunt a little bit, so you got me off track. I appreciate the love. Okay, so if you think about this now, you're looking at a big mural, Okay, like think of that as your whole life. You're looking at the big mural, every aspect of it, your eyes are going back and forth across the whole wide mural, and you're taking it all in. And all of it, is part of your field of vision. And relatively, each aspect of the mural is pretty small because you're taking all of it in. But then if I were to put on blinders and focus in on the bottom left corner, and I'm not paying attention to anything else but that bottom left corner of the mural, then it's not as if that just magically grows in front of me, but relatively now, my entire vision field is taken up by that bottom left corner, while the rest of the mural is being ignored. Do you understand what I mean? When I say what you focus on grows, now all you can see is the bottom left corner. All you have is the bottom left corner. So that bottom left corner, when you were looking at the full picture, which was just one small stroke in one small thought, is now everything. That's what it means when we say what you focus on grows. Okay? Because our attention, where we give our attention, how much we give attention to something, determines its relative importance in our life. So if I'm pouring all my attention into fighting against my weakness, this thing that I want to get rid of, guess what your life is now consumed by? This supposed weakness. At expense to all of your strengths, all of those things that you do well, all of your successes, everything else that's moving in your life, has now been reduced. It's been minimized. It's been taken away. Because that thing that you are focusing on is now growing. Y'all understand? Y'all following what I'm saying? Okay? So, those are the two things. Those are those two reactions that we typically have to our weaknesses, okay? We either work to hide it, we either work to put it aside, and in so shame ourselves and convince ourselves, give ourselves validation that we should be hiding it as if something's wrong, or we're fighting to get rid of it, and in so doing, allowing it to consume all of our life. All right, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about how this shows up in my life. Some of the things that I have done. So one of the things that I would describe as a weakness of mine is that I can start and stop projects. So I have a lot of excitement in the beginning of something, and then different things happen. Whether fear might come up, or I might be overwhelmed. Or I'm also usually doing a lot. I'm usually carrying a lot of different, or juggling a lot of different hats, or whatever the expression is. And so sometimes things fall by the wayside just by a factor of how much I do. And so I can start things, but the finishing is harder. Okay. And first of all, let me just say, I know this is not unique to me, but that is one of those things that I have in my past, especially really harped on as a weakness of mine. And when I was in this mindset of fighting against it, when I was in this mindset of I have to get rid of this, I have to change this, I was also telling myself a story about what it meant to have that pattern, right? So it was okay. It wasn't just that I start and stop. It was also, that must mean that I'm lazy. That must mean that I'm a flake, that I don't work hard, that I don't follow through. And that fueled that cycle even stronger, right? So now I'm even more ashamed because I'm not just hiding from you that I started this project and didn't finish it. I'm also hiding from you how that makes me feel about myself and this story that I've written about what that means about who I am, right? And so now I'm trying to disguise those things that I'm convincing myself, are because I have this pattern, because I've done those things in the past. Okay. So my struggle with the behavior, that back and forth with, what it means about who I am, made it such a central part of my storyline. That's that idea of what we focus on grows. So now it's not just that one of the things that I tend to do is that I might start something and then fall off, but there's a bigger picture and there's more to me than that. Now it is, I am lazy, period. Right? And that is how I define myself, or how I defined myself in the past. Do y'all see how vicious this is? How quickly it can take over and keep you in that pattern. And now, here's the kicker. Once I define myself as such, then I do things that live up to that expectation. So now, because I think of myself as lazy, I do things that are probably a little lazy. Right? Y'all see? That's what it means when we say what we focus on grows. Because now I've taken that one behavior, that one small thing, I've turned it into a narrative about who I am, and now I live up to that destructive narrative. All right? So, I have to first tell y'all what we do wrong so I can then tell y'all what to do right. Because I know if y'all following me, you know, so this is not going to work because that's how we keep ourselves stuck, right? Those are the ways that your weaknesses hold you back, okay? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do something different with our weaknesses. And you probably guessed we're going to do the opposite of those things that don't work out for us. So that first thing I said you tend to do is hide them, right? So you're going to bring those weaknesses to light. You're going to learn to talk about those things that you aren't good at, those things that you are ashamed of, those things that you are embarrassed about, just as openly as you do those things you are proud of. Just as openly as you do your strengths. Just as openly as you do those things, that you share those accomplishments you have. This is especially important in this social media world where we can just pick and choose what parts of our lives we want other people to see, because we look around and we're looking at everybody else's, highlights, and then comparing that to our behind the scenes real world. Right. And so if you then put on that same facade where all you're sharing are the good things, all you're sharing are those times when you're shining, right? Then you're keeping all of those times when life is hard, because life is hard for all of us, to yourself. And you're stuck having to deal with that shame to yourself. You can break free of the feeling of shame by sharing it with other people. I just did this the other day. So I've been, if you are following me, you know I have been vying for a TEDx talk. So this is on my bucket list. I really want to do a TEDx. And I made it to the final round of selection, and I was very hopeful, but just found out that I wasn't selected for this upcoming event. And I shared it. I said, you know what? I'm disappointed. And you don't got to lie about it. You can say up front how you feel. So yes, I'm disappointed. This was not what I expected. I wanted to get this, but I didn't. And this ain't the end of this story. There is more coming. I will let you know when I make it. So in that, just practice sharing those things with other people. Okay? And so she said, I don't think anyone would post the shame. However, I agree, in a safe space. And it's real interesting. You can start off small. You can start off in those, if this is new to you, you can start off in those trusted circles of sharing those things that you're ashamed of. And as you get better at this, you're going to learn to be able to share it in any space. You're going to learn that even in public, even on the biggest broadcast, what is you knowing about my failures? What is you knowing about what is you knowing about my failures? What is you knowing about those things that I struggle with? How does that give you any power over me? The real reason people don't share those shames or share those roadblocks is because they tie their worth to them in some way. And so you don't want somebody else to be able to weaponize that against you. But if you recognize that your failures in no way reduce your worth as a person, then nobody can use them against you. So it doesn't matter who knows. It doesn't matter who knows those things. And the more you share them, this is really the beauty of it. The more you share them, the less you feel shameful about them. Because you learn a couple of things. You learn either that you're not the only one. You're not the only one. When I posted that, somebody posted, same thing happened to me. I tried out 3 or 4 times before I got it. Right? I've had 3 rejections so far. So you'd be like, oh shit, like I thought I was the only one over here struggling. Right? So number 1, like you find out you're not the only one who has felt that way. Number 2, once it's out in the public, there's nothing to be ashamed about. There's nothing, once it's exposed, right? And you're not doing that behavior of hiding it and everybody knows, that feeling dissipates. Right? It starts to reduce. You're almost normalizing that, yes, this is something that I experienced. That's the same way when you're talking about how you destigmatize something, the answer is always to talk about it. The answer is always to share it with other people. Once you make something more public, once you make something, a norm for someone to encounter, then you're literally in doing so, taking away the secrecy behind it. You're taking away the need for secrecy. You're taking away the stigma, because now it's not stigmatized. It's something everybody talks about. All right? So that's the same process for yourself. Once you start sharing those things that you think, oh my God, what if somebody knows? And you realize the world didn't end once you told somebody. Once they found out, you're still here, right? Then you train yourself to know that you can have a different relationship with those weaknesses of yours. Those things that you have been hiding, that you've been using your mental resources to hide, you can actually let go. All right? So that's part of that space, right? Being able to share it, okay? The other part, and this one I really love, right? So we talked about how the second thing that people do is they fight against them. They're saying, oh, I'm going to get rid of this demon of mine, this thing that I just cannot deal with, this thing that I can't live with, this thing that I've told myself is wrong about me. I'm going to stamp it out of me, okay? So we're going to move from fighting against your weaknesses to what I call the nod method, okay? This is the nod, right? First of all, here's the nod. What up? That's the nod, right? And that's how you're going to approach those weaknesses, right? You're going to kind of nod at it. And this is how you're going to nod. You're going to first notice them. You're going to second observe it. And then you're going to third, you're going to do. You're going to figure out what you're going to do. All right? I'm going to talk you through it. So when I talk about noticing it, you're going to kind of, those patterns, that are your Achilles heels or those things that you don't do too well, you're going to kind of be on the lookout for them. You're going to be trying to find them. Almost like, where's Waldo? Like you're kind of flipping through life like, okay, I know this is a pattern of mine. I know this is something I can slip into. And I'm going to try to find it. And I'm going to try to find it sooner and sooner. I'm going to try to find it, earlier and earlier on in the cycle. So I just want to try to notice it. I want to notice it, right? Okay? And I want to make this very clear. I said notice, not fixate, right? So we're not fixating on it. We just want to notice it. Once you find it, once you're like, oh, there it is. There's that thing that I tend to do. There's that, soft spot I have or that weakness I have. Once you catch yourself in it, you're going to kind of observe what brought you there, right? Like, when does it happen? Do you have particular triggers that set it off? What's happening in your environment right then? What's happening in your life right then where that happened? Okay, like when did it pop up, right? Because you're trying to understand the pattern behind it, right? And the reason that it's important to do that is because usually, especially those destructive behaviors we have, they're fueled by some unprocessed emotion. So the more that you can bring some curiosity to observing what's going on in your life, the more that you can cut it off sooner and understand why it's showing up for you. Like, okay, so I'm noticing that, I tend to slip into this pattern of procrastinating. That's something that I don't do well. I tend to do that when I'm feeling overwhelmed, right? And last time I noticed it, I was also feeling overwhelmed, right? So that's what you're trying to observe. You're trying to pick up on what else is going on in your life, surrounding you noticing it, right? Like, what are clues? That's what you're looking for, okay? And then the do, right? You're going to figure out, what are you going to do? So we're not fighting against it. We're not pushing back. We're not putting our energy into saying, get out of my life. Once you notice it, once you've taken some time to observe, then you get to ask yourself, okay, so what am I going to choose to do in this moment, right? Like, and that's the beauty of it. When you aren't bogged down in the fight, when you're not tied up fighting somebody or that internal struggle, right? Then you have the freedom to bring your attention to choosing what you're going to do in that moment, okay? It frees up your mind to keep going, because that's how your weaknesses actually hold you back, right? They tie up your mental resources, okay? And you're spending all this time in your mind working through something that you could be spending actually working on your goals, okay? So now, with this nod method, you're going to be able to take those mental resources back. So y'all remember, what's the end? The end, you're going to notice it. The O is you're going to observe it. And the D, this is the vital one. You're going to ask yourself, okay, what am I going to do? All right? And this how you do it, right? I'm gonna do it again. Ready? What's up? That's the nod for you. That's how you're gonna look at your weaknesses. You're gonna notice it, you're gonna observe it, and you're gonna keep moving. Just like when you get that nod, we ain't stopping to talk. Well, we ain't having no whole dialogue. That's my cue that I peeped you, I saw you, I'm recognizing you, and I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna keep going on my way. Like, that literally is the purpose of the nod. What? Right? That's the greeting. We give you the nod, but we say, I'm still have some place to be. And the place you have to be is accomplishing your goals. Okay? So you are able to then make the choice to keep moving. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Y'all hear me? Okay? So like when I think about this for myself, I told y'all, I had the pattern of starting and stopping projects, right? And I had this whole storyline. I was fighting against it. I was beating myself up. Like, I have to stop doing this. I told myself all these things. I'm so lazy. I'm a flake. All those things, right? And that was me in the fight with it. That was me shamefully trying to hide those things about me and internally just fighting back against it, okay? Then I adopted this nod method. And I got to rewrite my story. I got to change up. I was like, so when I got to my do, it was like, okay, so what are you going to do? And I thought to myself, who do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be? And I started to be able to tell myself what those values were. Like, I want to be a person who executes. I want to be a person who gets things done. I'm defining myself as someone who accomplishes my goals. And just like before, when I defined myself as lazy and then lived down to that standard, when I changed that story, when I actually gave myself the room to ask myself who I want to be, and I told myself, I'm actually a person who gets things done, then I started getting things done, y'all. Y'all hear me? This is what you're doing. You're giving yourself back the power. You're putting yourself back in your own driver's seat. Now, you are the one in control rather than your weaknesses. Before, you were caught up. You weren't even driving your life course. You were caught up fighting the weaknesses, fighting those things in the back seat, distracted. Now you're like, all right, I see you. I know when you tend to pop up. I know when you tend to get louder. I know, when I'm tempted to follow you. And I'm asking myself, what do I want to do? And I'm continuing on that path. All right, so do it with me now. Ready? Ready? Here we go. And keep it moving. All right? Y'all got the nod? Y'all know what it is? Y'all know the strategy? Make sure when you do that nod, make sure you tell somebody else. Okay, listen. Dr. Parsons told me this nod technique. Make sure you follow her. Authentically me _ live free girl. I hope this helps for y'all. Again, make sure you share those things. You use that nod. And every time you're going to get better at it. Every time you're going to find Waldo quicker. You're going to know, and before, especially if you do the observe part well, you're not just going to find Waldo, you're going to anticipate when Waldo's going to show up. Okay, so y'all hear me? So let's see, I have a question. How do you overcome being alone? The fear of being alone. Okay, y'all, somebody help them out. What did I share today? When we talking about what you do with that, you nod, okay? You tell them, all right, I know this fear is coming up for me, right? So actually, I'm gonna tell y'all, cause that story actually hits my heart, right? So I told y'all know, part of my story is that I lost my partner. So, you know, after his death, sorry y'all, oops, no! Oh no, how do I get it back? Hold on. See, this is why I shouldn't touch stuff. Okay, hold on. I'm coming back. I don't know how to, so I have this old phone and I don't know how to get back to the screen I was on. All right, I might just have to keep going because this is a part of life. Oh, let's see. Okay, woo, I'm back. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so I was answering the question, the fear of being alone. So when my partner passed away, after some time, and when I started dating again, I experienced this like overwhelming fear of not even just loving, just being happy, like having any type of interaction or romantic relationship, because I was just so afraid. I'd written this story that even though his death was very unexpected, that it was taken from me, that like it's gonna end, right? So I had this fear of like being back at that place, especially how devastating that was to be in, right? And so what I would do, I would then lash out in anger and at pretty much anybody who was interested in me but like trying to be nice. I'd be like pushing away, right? Because my fear of losing them, right, based on my experiences, based on my background, I was then trying to protect myself. Okay? And this is the trick, right? Like, once I recognize, okay, I'm doing something, I'm acting in a way that's destructive for what I really want, because I do really want connection, I do really want love and intimacy and relationship, right? So now I have to figure out what's going on, okay? So I started, and at that point, I didn't even really recognize it was this fear of being alone, but I did recognize the rage. I recognized the anger. So I started just by noticing that. First, I'm just going to notice, okay, when do I feel upset? When do I feel angry? This is before the lash out, but the emotion inside, when do I feel that? Then I started observing it. Okay, what's going on? Like, what's fueling it? And I started recognizing this cycle of, I most feel this way when like when I'm in a place with a potential partner where like I feel vulnerable, where there's some level of like potential intimacy and closeness. And I'm like asking questions. Again, this is all with curiosity, right? Why? I wonder why that is. Like, why would I feel angry at times when I'm like actually getting close to somebody? And I started just non-judgmentally just thinking through what might be going on with that and being in touch with my body and feeling those things, right? And then the do, right? I got to decide, what am I going to do, right? So I got to then say for myself, I I don't want to be, an erratic person who lashes out in anger. I want to be somebody who's willing to be vulnerable. So I'm going to choose to be vulnerable in this moment. And that same cycle over and over, that nod, that noticing the fear, observing what triggers the fear, and then doing what you actually want to do. The more you practice it, the more you change your life course. The easier it comes too. It's hard at first. That's why I said at first, I didn't even recognize that it was the fear of being alone. For me, it was just the anger that I was noticing to begin with. Right? And then the more you actually dive into this process, you're like, oh, I know what's fueling that now. And now, rather than connecting with the anger, I could connect with the fear. And I could feel and process and release that and observe what brought that on. And most importantly, do what I actually wanted to do in the moment, despite how I was feeling. Girl, when I said I'm going to give you the steps, I said these things were, I'm not saying that it's easy to do, right? But with practice, you get better. Every time you do it, you learn a little bit more about yourself. And it becomes just a little bit more, comes to you just a little bit quicker. The more that you say to yourself, okay, well, I can't because I've been through this, or I can't because, I have these issues, or I have this roadblock, or, whatever that is, the more you are choosing to stay stuck exactly how you are. If that's okay with you, then keep on. But I have a feeling, because you're listening to me right now, that you want something different. And if you want something different, you have to be willing to do something different. You have to be willing to take steps in a different direction to get somewhere else than where you are right now. And I'm teaching you how. And I'm teaching you because I have been in places I didn't want to be, and now I'm someplace that I love. Right? So this is about walking yourself there. Walking yourself to something new. Step by step. And then, y'all should know. That's why I talked about the roadblocks along the way. It's not a straight path, right? You might take 5 steps forward and 2 steps back. As long as you continue moving, right? It's cyclical on your way there. But when you zoom out, you have to be making progress. All right? Y'all understand? This whole thing is recognizing that when you allow your mind to just go at whim and automatically fuel then how you think, your feelings fuel then how you think, and then what you do, when you don't check that cycle, you end up off track. So this is about bringing awareness to that cycle and fixing those parts that are, not working properly. Those parts that are taking you someplace you don't want to be. Okay? And this is a continuous process. Because every moment you're evolving and changing, and something new as time is continuing to pass, there's more to process. So this is something we're continuing to do. Y'all understand? I hope that answered your question. Sometimes I get a little excited and I start to, I don't know, I told y'all, this is just what I'm here for. So, I hope that this has been helpful for you all. Let me know what other questions you have. Let me know if there are particular topics you want me to cover in the future about how I have gone from, like I said, living caged in, living in a place where I knew I wasn't living up to my potential, to being in alignment and experiencing the peace that comes from that. If you have found this helpful, please share this post. Make sure that you like and follow my page, authenticallyme_live free on Instagram, authentically me live free on Facebook. And are you saying you want to hear about relationships? Because y'all know relationships are my soft spot. I'm a psychologist, and couples and relationships are my specialty, especially Black love. So y'all know I'm bringing that to you, right? We healing ourselves so that we can come as whole people to those relationships. And so we can both love each other wholly and then, grow through that. Right? Rather than all the work that we tend to do in healing, right? If we heal ourselves first and then love with our full hearts, our full selves, the magic that comes from that is, whoo! I just feel it all in my body. Y'all need activities? Y'all want worksheets? I'm creating them. What you want a worksheet on? What you want an activity on? I should write out this nod method. I actually just like I got to do it one more time, y'all. I hope y'all doing that at home with me. And y'all know I'm flossing because of my new haircut, right? Okay, ready? Here we go. What up? That's it. That's what we leaving off on that note. You nod into all those weaknesses. You're going to keep moving on your own path. I am developing this program, so please make sure that you send me DMs, send me messages, comment on my posts if there are things that you want me to focus on. I'm happy to dive into them. I'm happy to share them with you. This is an amazing topic. I might have to tackle that next week. How to be single and truly understand and practice in self-love, because okay. All right, let me stop because I'm going to go on for a whole nother hour. Okay, but let me know what y'all want to know and I will follow through. I'm going to show up and I'm going to teach you those things that I know, those things that I've lived through, those things that I work with my clients to process and heal from. And we're going to heal together. All right. Join our free community, liveandlovefree.org, where I have my weekly blog posts. Today, I talked about all those lies that we tell ourselves and the ways to call yourself out and do something different. So make sure that you get on my listserv so that you are the first to get my weekly posts in your inbox and all the other goodies I send out just to my exclusive community. Again, I'm authentically me _live free. I love you all. I will see you next week, 8 o'clock, where you can get your life. Love and light.